3 years, 7 months as a substantive managing director. At Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, one of the goals of the institution was to ensure quality of agriculture products. You cannot do good agriculture and successful in a sustainable way unless you care about quality. My background training is in crop protection. I hold a PhD in crop protection and MSc or Masters in plant pathology, that is the study of plant diseases, and then Bachelor of Agriculture. And therefore, I have also worked in the agriculture sector now for about 30 years. So one of the lessons I have learned during my career is that unless you observe certain standards while doing your agriculture, you'll never be sure that you can succeed, or you will never succeed. Maybe we can start with just defining what agriculture is.
Yeah, you can define agriculture.
Yes.
Crop protection. Before we proceed to our main topic tonight.
Yes. I was looking at the various definitions of agriculture and I realized that they have changed over the years. For many of us Kenyans, when we think of agriculture, we think of the jembe and that farmer with dirty hands.
Yes.
But that is not agriculture anymore. Agriculture has changed over the years to the use of technologies. And then also for agriculture to succeed, don't just think about the plant, but everything that will make the plant reach the market or the consumer. In fact, I was looking at Genesis 2:15 and realizing that actually God is very concerned about agriculture. And actually in Genesis chapter 2 verse 5, he says, it was saying that God had not put plants on the ground when he created heaven and earth because he had not yet created man to work on it.
Yes.
Yeah? And then in Genesis 2:15 it says that, you know, God put man in a garden and he commanded him to work on that ground and take care of the plants. And I guess also the animals he brought later for him to name. So you find that for agriculture to succeed, man must have strategies on how he takes care of that agriculture and the environment in which he's doing his agriculture. Yeah? Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Now, crop protection. Briefly, what does it entail? What is crop protection?
Crop protection deals with protecting plants from diseases. Actually, I said I have a PhD, so many people know me as Dr. Esther Kimani.
Sure.
It's because I'm a doctor of plants. As I have given my background, my studies actually mainly focus on making sure that you can get healthy and quality plants. Like human beings, also people don't know that plants get sick. In fact, even the germs, let me talk a language that people understand. Yeah, that attack human beings. Sometimes you hear you have a bacterial infection. Right now we are talking about the COVID-19, yeah?
The virus.
The virus, yeah? In fact, for me, I'm hoping that people, as they understand about the quarantine, they will really understand actually what the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service does. Because actually the major objective of that organization is to enforce the quarantine of plants, preventing plant diseases from being introduced into the country and also being spread around. Because as I said, plants also get sick. And once some of the diseases are introduced into a country, getting rid of them is almost impossible. And we can destroy our agriculture, and we can also destroy the plants in the environment. You see the trees, we see all the shrubs you see around. Because some of those diseases, they can come maybe through maize or through potatoes or another crop. But once they come into the country, they can attack so many plants.
Yes.
Yeah, like you are hearing about COVID-19, about viruses being moved from animals to human beings. You know, the same way now the plants that come, it can move maybe from potato to tomatoes, yeah, to the capsicum. And they
so
not,
forth.
they not
We are
only-
coming there, Daktari,
okay, fine.
on the safety of seeds and types of crops that are grown. Actually, you'll be very resourceful on that part, as you've always been.
Yes.
Now, this week we had a talk with the former assistant minister in the Ministry of Planning. And we've done a number of sampling here and there, trying to identify whether as a country we are food secure. And what came out is that a larger percentage of our feedback shows that we are not food secure as a country. From your point of view, we also want to get the bearing of our talk tonight. Are we food secure?
Kenya is a very interesting country. Actually, sometimes we have excess food and sometimes we have very little food that is not enough. But let me first define actually what food security is. You can only talk of food security when you have enough food at all times, of the one that will give you the nutritions, the right nutritions that you need for your body.
Not just to fill the stomach.
Not just to fill the stomach. And so if we are to look at the broader definition of food security, we can say that in Kenya we are not exactly food secure. But the challenge with Kenyans is that we have people who have excess and others who have very little.
Or the narrative of 10 millionaires and 10 million poor people.
Yes.
Now, there have been these cries, Daktari, and we want to establish from you, having been in this ministry, having been in the field for all this long, we want to see the weakest link. What is the weakest link between food security and Kenya? Is it the youth education system? Is it the government? Is it the masses? The weakest. I know we have a number of weak links. What is the weakest link?
Actually, in Kenya, one of the challenges we have is because we have a market economy. And also, so what has happened is that most of the agriculture actually is done by the private sector. And you know, for the goal of the private sector, most of the time is profits. So you find that if something doesn't make immediate business sense, most people will not invest in it. So you find a long time ago people used to farm, and they would farm, but the major goal was to get enough food to eat. But after sometimes people discovered actually I can buy food. Yeah. And then because maybe of the way people used to be forced, like the people who grew up like us, maybe we used to be forced to go to the shamba to go and farm. And also maybe some of the narratives we got, like work hard, go to school, unless you want to stay here in the shamba working. It's like we got some misconception that agriculture is for either poor people who are not educated and for the older people. So you find that one of the greatest challenges unless we change as Kenyans, though I know the government is making a lot of effort, the youth are not getting into agriculture. And then also you find that if you really need to do agriculture that will give you proper income, you need a big piece of land. Most of our youth have no land. So this is something that needs to be looked into, on how the youth can access the resources that they need, because I can see some renewed interest into farming and especially agribusiness. Kenya is a major exporter of agriculture products, and so people are finding opportunities there. But many are asking, where is the land?
So population explosion has also contributed much into the lessening of the land.
Part with that, And also the other one is the land being in the hands of the older people.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a long time ago when the parents would be forcing the young people go and take that land and farm.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, even youths are finding it very hard to access even the lands of their fathers,
Mm-hmm.
which may not be being used, but they are finding it a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially to do those commercial businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As we began, Daktari, you mentioned about the quality of the seeds, and at the same time you also mentioned about farm implements. After many of the harvests, unasikia mtu kwa shamba anasema wewe ulivuna vizuri, ni kama mimi nilinunua mbegu mbaya, and what have you. So this issue of farm implements and the seeds, you actually have to give away on how people can handle this matter, because it's become a headache to many farmers. Is it time we have proper education on this, or is it time that we have one single entity that supplies seeds?
Let me first answer from behind, from the last, about single entity supplying seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That would not work. Why? With the large populations we have and the diversity of the seeds that are needed, I know most of the time when Kenyans are talking, they'll be talking about food and seed, but what is really at the back of their mind is maize.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more to agriculture and more to food than maize.
Mm-hmm.
And so saying that a single entity will supply all that is not practical.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe one of the things I would also recommend is that maybe what the government should do, they can have that single entity that also supplies seeds and
CAC TV invites you to live Sunday services on the 19th of April from 8 a.m. Speakers will be Reverend Peter Kariuki, Director Children Ministry, Reverend Canon Chris Kinyanjui, General Secretary NCCK, Reverend Festus Gitonga, former Secretary General and Parish Minister PCEA Nairobi West, Reverend Esther Wainaina, Chaplain Kenyatta University, Reverend Dr. Charles Kibicho of Presbyterian University, and Reverend Anthony Miringu, Director Youth Ministry. Tune into CAC TV on Signet, CAC TV Kenya on Facebook, and CAC TV Kenya on YouTube this Sunday from 8 a.m.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days. Dial *719# or call 719. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Welcome back to this wonderful discussion on the path to food security in Kenya. We have Dr. Esther Kimani, a crop protection officer, who is taking us through this program. We are looking on ways on how Kenya can become a food secure country, looking into what God has blessed us with, our climate, our soils, and the energetic people that we have in the country. keep on tweeting, keep on participating in this conversation as we look into the ways forward. Daktari, before we went for a break, we were looking on this matter of the seed and the farm implements, and you're giving very nice insight over it. What is to be done on this matter of the seed to end this pandemic of hey, mbegu mbaya and all that?
Okay, I had already mentioned it's not possible for one company or one entity to certify the whole of Kenya with the enough seeds on the diverse kinds of plants. And one of the mandates of the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service is to do seed certification. That is, and also they register the seed merchants. That gives everybody an opportunity to grow seed that is certified, of high quality, of the variety that people want, and then you can be able to market it into the country. Because also depending on people waiting, thinking that the government will provide them with the seed, is not attainable. However, the government sometimes, of course, in time of crisis, or if they want to promote a certain production, they can produce seed. But you realize that even that seed, they have to buy. So why don't you be the person selling it? So if you want to be a seed merchant, you can register with the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service. They will advise you on the steps that you need to undertake to ensure that your systems supply quality seeds. Also, if you want to be an importer or to do any other business on seed, Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service will guide you and also give you the license that you need.
Okay, now looking into this matter, you've talked about land, and we usually have this topic of GMOs, the genetically modified organisms. There was a debate, and it's still even there.
Yeah.
Is this thing safe for human consumption?
Maybe one of the things you have to look at is who else is eating the GMOs, or the genetically modified crops or products of genetically, and you find out what effects or what does the reports show on the effects of those foods on them. And some of the things that people fear about genetically modified foods, okay, there are very myths and also certain religious beliefs that prevent people maybe from adopting them, and others are also economic fears. But when it comes to crop, as to whether they are safe or not, before a genetically modified crop can be, or food can be allowed into the market, it goes very stringent and vigorous tests by scientists who really certify that it's safe for human consumption. So you find that for products that are already in the market, maybe the reason why maybe they haven't been really commercialized everywhere or accepted, there could be other things, and especially political issues, that make them not be acceptable. But having worked with KEPHIS, and one of the mandates of KEPHIS is to protect the plant variety protection. A plant variety is a technology like any other technology, and so it can be somehow like patented through the Plant Variety Protection or Plant Breeders' Rights. And some of the reasons why maybe also people oppose the genetically modified crops is because not everyone has their own technology, and it may be in the hands of just a few people. And people are usually scared that if we adopt and depend on this crop, what will happen? And going by the history, what happens is that once a crop is very popular, people forget about the previous ones, and that crop dominates the market. These are risks that various governments have to manage even as they adopt the genetically modified crops, and also invest into systems that assure that a variety of seeds are available For example, in maize, you find there are so many varieties of maize that are adapted to various ecological zones, and they have various different characteristics. How do we maintain these varieties so that if people want to go back to them, they can be available for further multiplication?
This brings us to something here, Daktari, about handling of food and also the storage.
Yes.
At some point, we've been seeing the Kenya Bureau of Standards coming up and saying that millers, these particular, like this is not supposed to be sold, it has aflatoxin. And from your point of understanding, where does this aflatoxin come in? Is it through storage or any other sort of negligence?
Actually, issue of aflatoxin is very complex, because aflatoxin is usually caused by, is the toxin that comes from various organisms, the fungus. But these ones, instead of attacking you directly, they produce toxins. And maize can be infected in various ways. First, it starts with the soils, because if there are some maize that were affected by that fungus in the shamba, and some of them even fall into the ground, the fungus also produces a lot of spores. Some of them, spores are the producing elements, yeah? So they fall onto the ground. So it can start with the infection of the cells themselves, and as the crop grows, it's infected. The other one is, but most of the aflatoxins in maize comes in during handling time. First, like when it starts raining at harvest time, you find that most of the, some maize may start rotting while still in the field. Those fungus that makes that maize to rot are some of the ones that produce the toxins. So you find even as you harvest, you contaminate, the maize you're harvesting is contaminated, and the infected one will contaminate even the good ones. And then the problem with that aflatoxin, you know, for a very long time people have been feeding the bad maize to the cows, to the chicken. Science also shows that if you do that, it may go to the eggs, it will go to the meat, it will go to the milk. So you find that it's complicated. But what is wrong with aflatoxin is maybe that's where we should have started. It, in the long run, it can cause cancer. It's not, unless in very high doses, when you eat it, you don't get sick immediately. But now with the continuous eating, it can result to cancer. So that's why also the government is working very hard to create awareness about aflatoxin, and also encouraging people to manage. And for the products in the market, that's why institution like Kenya Bureau has to regulate. Yeah, there are various methods they use for detecting.
Wonderful. Now, Daktari, tonight we are just setting a path for more discussions, for more research, for more field work on how we are going to be a food secure country. We want to see some of the few steps before we engage stakeholders on this journey. What are the way forward, the steps before we now begin the work? Because tonight we are just ushering in the new baby on the block.
I think as a country, one of the things we need to do is to have the whole agriculture actually like streamlined. As I said, agriculture is not only the djembe. Yeah, you need all those machineries, you need to organize the transport, you need to organize the storage. Yeah, the science is a science in itself. You have to make sure that all these systems are feeding towards each other. And one of the greatest challenge we have in this country actually is marketing. Where do you take that product after you have made it? Yeah, we don't have organized systems for uptake and storage and marketing of product. That you find that players have to almost struggle individually. So it would be very nice also, first of all, even farmers to come to cooperatives so that they can get enough volumes that are needed for transporting, for storage, yeah. And also, we need all the other disciplines, marketers, accountants, whoever, everybody that is needed to make the systems work. Even as the government sets the right policies, which I know we already have very good policies, and other countries come to borrow them. Let's look at those policies and see how do we implement them.
And who to implement them?
And who to, of course, the government regulates, the people who are doing the businesses are the ones to follow them. Yes, yes.
Now, Daktari, can we have a situation whereby people have money but there's no one to sell for them food? Kwa sababu kuna watu wanasemanga bora niko na pesa, I'm sorted.
Yes, it's very possible to have. In fact, even one of my greatest fears right now, I'm encouraging farmers, please do your farming as usual. In fact, this time don't just do for your own subsistence, but do even for the market. You cannot be sure that you have people selling food to you. And this, I'm talking from an experience as a regulator. One of the mandates of KEFIS is to inspect at the border when the food is coming in. And we had two scenarios when we had conflicts in, was it 2013? And, 2007 and 2017, where you find actually our neighbors lock the borders and the same maize will be brought into Kenya. Sometimes they even refuse the maize to pass through their country. It can be that bad. Yeah.
Thank you, Daktari. A parting shot to food suppliers, the government, even as we face this pandemic. Just a parting shot. Pia Wakenya unawaambia nini? Wapambane namna gani?
Wakenya, there's a lot you can do in agriculture. Don't say that there are no jobs, because some of them, even for you to start, you don't really need money. But also seek the right knowledge. Sometimes we assume everybody's a farmer. Seek the right knowledge, and let's work together and make sure that our country is food secure. There are many experts who can help.
Led by Daktari herself.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kimani. She has taken her time, soft-spoken but full of content. We have laid a path, the path that we are going to follow in the long journey to see that as a media house, we contribute to food security in this country. This is just but a beginning, but there's more to engage. And that is why we've welcomed your feedback, your comments, and your additions on our social media platforms and also on our SMS number as we embark on this journey towards seeing that we now move from the newsroom to the field, working together with the researchers, stakeholders, and the government towards seeing that we have food security. We appreciate for your audience and your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. From me, Cornelius Omuse, from Power Brief Desk, and also from this special edition preparation crew, we wish you a very happy weekend and a good month of April, even as we fight through this pandemic. Remember to follow the regulations of the government and the health workers as we fight together to overcome COVID-19. Have a good night.
Are you searching for a university to invest in your future? Well, your future is one click away. Chuka University, a fast-growing higher learning institution in the heart of Chuka Town, offers an array of degrees at its main campus and its satellite campuses that include doctorate, master's, and bachelor's degree. We also offer diploma and certificate courses. The university runs on a rich academic program that includes the faculty